Hi, everybody. Liz and Annie here, back again to talk about online teaching. So this time we're doing something slightly different. We're not talking about, how to use Zoom per se, but more about some pedagogical points about online teaching. So one of the things that we heard from our colleagues and TAs in the department that was a difficult thing to manage has been getting students to come to office hours, which is, not a new problem, but in the online space, it might seem strange that students aren't, coming as much as you might hope to visit you. So we were thinking about some strategies that you might use. And the main one is maybe thinking about structuring your office hours a little bit differently so that students are incentivized to come. And so one of the struggles with online teaching and just quarantine in general, right, is that people are not getting enough human interaction. And so making your office hours a space where students can come and just talk to you about anything, talk to you about the course, course's relevance to real life, or just life in general, just kind of fun chat hour. It might not be something that you use your office hours for normally, but in this particularly difficult time for students, that might be something to kind of advertise to students, right? That this hour is time that you, the instructor, have set aside for students to come. So they're not interrupting, they're coming to chat with you during that time. Something else that you might think about doing is setting a theme for each office hour week, so that, during week one, the point of office hours is going to be getting to know each other, right? So you kind of have a more intimate space to chat with your students and get to know them a little bit more personally. And then maybe the next week is talking about how that week's content relates to, the real world or something. The following week is dedicated to review content for the upcoming exam or something like that. But every week students know that if they come to office hours, this is what they can expect, right? And something else that you might consider doing is not just giving office hours a theme, but actually calling them something completely different. So instead of office hours, maybe calling them student hours to really convey to them that this is time you've curated for them, you've set aside for them, and you're welcoming to students to come in and chat with you. So those are a couple of things from me, a couple of strategies. Liz, do you have anything you want to add about office hours?
Just a couple of little things. So I really like all these suggestions to, for sure, emphasize with your students that the time is theirs. Like I find myself maybe protesting too much when I do that. So I'll be like, it's your time. It's already in my calendar. Like I am there. I'm in Zoom, just waiting, often bored. If no one comes, I'll work on other stuff. But if you come in and you want to talk to me about anything related to the course or your psychology major or your educational pursuits or many of my classes, I think a lot of us in psychology are in this boat, but like many of my classes have direct relevance to what people are going through in terms of the pandemic right now. And my research is about emotion regulation and coping and stress. So like a lot of times it's like sometimes they just want to, I don't know, kind of like share and just see how it's received. And so I've had really interesting conversations with students about like just the kinds of challenges that they're up against in this remote learning environment, especially like the longer and longer it stretches on. So being really clear, like this is your time. I welcome it. If you don't come, like I'll do other things, but I'll be kind of bored. And the time is for me to interact with you guys. So I hope you do come. I do want to say, like, if you're going to do um, more of these like small tutorial versions or these themey things versus like a more what I would consider to be like traditional variation, which is like a one-on-one, like one student at a time coming in, you'll want to think about how to set up your Zoom room to kind of best support that. So down here on security, you can click on this. If I were having office hours, I would enable my waiting room if I wanted students to come in one at a time. So if I wanted to let the whole class in or whoever wanted to drop in, I wouldn't do that. Or I could do that and then I could just admit them as I was like kind of checking that it is the name of a student who's in my class or someone I was expecting to see or whatever. But if you are trying to meet the flow of students into your class, into your Zoom room, you want to make sure you have that on so that you don't have a bunch of people kind of crowd in all at once and then have to bounce them out so you can talk to students individually, especially if they have questions about, how they did on an exam or something they don't understand about the content that they're like not wanting to have shared with other students. So sometimes it's really good to foster like a small group discussion, and sometimes you may want to use some of the Zoom tools to ensure that you can do the one-on-one stuff too.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, this was just a couple of suggestions you could try out if students aren't coming to your office hours and you're really hoping to make that connection in the online environment, since it's really important for online courses, especially if you're asynchronous, to show students that you have a presence, right? There is an instructor kind of behind the curtain. So this might be one way to do that, encouraging students to come to your kind of small group tutorial style office hours, possibly centered around themes. Or maybe some weeks are that way and other weeks are dedicated to the one-on-one more traditional appointments Liz was talking about. So you can use these strategies as you see fit. All right, so we'll be back later with more pedagogical tips and Zoom tools. All right, see you later.